Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shrinvatam Swakata Krishnaha Punyashravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Hyabhadrani Vidunoti Suhritsatam. Krishna, who purifies by the processes of hearing and chanting, who is the benefactor of the devotees who hear about him, enters the hearts of the devotees and destroys their sins. Yasyakhilamīv habī sumangalai vacho vimishra gunakarma janmabhihi prananti shumbhanti punanti vai jagat yastad virakta shavashobhanamataha. All sins are destroyed and all good fortune is created by the Supreme Lord's qualities, activities and appearances, and words that describe these three things animate, beautify and purify the world. On the other hand, words bereft of his glories are like the decorations on a corpse. Shrinvatam grinatam viryan yuddhamani harer muhu yatha sujataya bhaktya shuddhenyatma vratadibihi. One who constantly hears and chants about the activities of the Lord, which can destroy sin, purifies his soul by that bhakti. One cannot achieve such purification merely by observing vows and performing Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Shrinvanti ghayanti granantyabhikshanasaha swaranti nandanti tavehitam janaha taeva pasyantyachirena tavakam bhava pravaho paramam padambujam. Persons who constantly hear, sing, speak, remember and sing to others about your activities, they alone, without delay, are able to see your lotus feet which destroy the influence of material existence. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Govijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasoda Nandana Brajana Ranjana Yasoda Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Mishma Paramahansa Maharaj, Gacharya Asada, Sisivit AC, Bhaktivinoda Samsara Prabhupada Ki Jai, Namachar Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Ram Sagaho, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, Govinda Shama Kunda Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Gang Jamuna Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatcharishatadane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Continuing verse 46. 11th canto, chapter 2, an intermediate or second-class devotee called madhyama adhikari offers his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a sincere friend to all the devotees of the Lord, shows mercy to ignorant people who are innocent, and disregards those who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Continuing the purport, those who are not attracted to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and who disrespect the faithful servants of Lord Chaitanya, considering their strong statements about the Sankirtan movement to be obstacles to their own worship of the Lord, will never be able to fix their minds on Krishna, but will gradually fall down from the path of devotion by confusing the external activities of the material world with the actual worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Such bewilderment has been expressed by the words Bhayam Dvitiya Abhinaveshata Syat. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has strongly rejected those foolish persons who, under a plea of mercy and equal vision, perceive that a faithless person is also a devotee of the Supreme Lord, and who thus try to thrust the Harinam, or holy name of God, upon such offensive people. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta has stated, when childish people think themselves Mahabhagavatas and try and act in defiance of the Vaishnava spiritual master, such behavior simply holds them back from receiving the mercy of the Vaishnava Guru. Bewildered by false ego, these self-proclaimed devotees gradually become fit to be ignored by pure devotees on the intermediate platform, and are cheated of the mercy that comes from the devotee's satisfaction. Thus they become asadhu by constantly committing offenses against the devotees who preach the holy name of Krishna. Pure devotees, therefore, in all circumstances display indifference to those who falsely imagine themselves to be Visuddha Bhaktas, or pure devotees of the Lord. This indifference is an excellent manifestation of their mercy. In other words, those who criticize the Vaishnava preachers on the second-class platform are discriminating between those who are fit to receive the Lord's mercy and those who are simply envious, or misunderstanding the mission of the Lord. Krishna himself states in Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya duskrutam Dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge, to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I advent myself millennium after millennium. Even such a great Vaishnava as Sukadev Goswami, one of the 12 Mahajans in this universe, expressed his contempt for evil Kamsa. Srila Jiva Goswami has pointed out that even though the Mahabhagavata devotees may act on the second-class platform for preaching, his rejection of the envious living entities does not obstruct his vision of the Lord as all-pervading. Rather, when a first-class devotee or even a second-class devotee rejects the atheistic class of men, he is expressing the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A first-class or second-class Vaishnava never actually becomes envious of another living entity, but out of intense love for the Supreme Lord, he becomes angry when the Lord is offended. Also, understanding the Lord's mission, he discriminates according to the position of a particular living entity. To consider such a Vaishnava preacher an ordinary envious person, or consider him sectarian because of his proclamation of pure devotional service as the most elevated of all methods of spiritual advancement, reflects a materialistic vision called Vaishnava Jati Buddhi or Gurushu Naramati. Such an offense drags the offender down to a hellish condition of life by the laws of nature. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, although a Mahabhagavata sees every living entity as a pure spirit soul, such a Mahabhagavata still experiences special ecstasies and other symptoms upon meeting another Vaishnava. This is not contradictory to his vision as a topmost devotee. Rather, it is a symptom of his love for Krishna. A pure devotee sees every living entity as part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore expresses his love for Krishna through love for all the expansions and creations of Krishna. Still, such a Mahabhagavata feels special ecstatic love upon seeing another living entity directly pleasing the senses of the Supreme Lord. Such feelings are manifest in the statement of Lord Shiva to the Prachetas, Kshanardenapi tulayena svargam napunarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kim utashishaha. If one by chance associates with a devotee even for a fraction of a moment, he no longer is subject to attraction by the results of karma or jnana. What interest then can he have in the benedictions of demigods who are subject to the laws of birth and death? Similarly, Lord Shiva also states, Ata Bhagavata Yuyam Priyasta Bhagavan Yata Namad Bhagavatanam Cha Prayan Anyosti Karhichit. You are all devotees of the Lord, and as such I appreciate that you are as respectable as the Supreme Personality of God himself. I know that in this way the devotees also respect me, and I am also dear to them. Thus no one can be as dear to the devotees as I am. Similarly, in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Sukadev Goswami is mentioned as Nityam Vishnujana Priya, especially dear to the pure devotees of the Lord. The wonderful loving dealings between Vaishnavas on the topmost platform are demonstrated in the pastimes of Chaitanya Charitamrita. In other words, although a Vaishnava sees every living entity as part and parcel of Krishna, he must discriminate in his external behavior so as not to interfere with the original purpose of the Lord's creation, which is to reform the living entities so they can gradually come back home, back to Godhead. A pure devotee does not foolishly pretend equal vision and approach envious persons. Rather, he respects the mission of the Lord, as stated in Bhagavad Gita by the words, Ye yata mam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. On the other hand, if it is the Lord's desire, a pure devotee can offer his respects to all living beings. For example, Srila Jiva Goswami mentions that Uddhava and other pure devotees of the Lord were always prepared to offer respectful obeisances even to such persons as Duryodhana. Madhyama adhikaris, however, should not imitate such Uttama adhikari behavior. In this connection, the distinction between madhyama adhikari and Uttama adhikari is stated by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur as follows. atra sarva bhuteshu bhagavat darshana yogyata yasya kadachit api na drista. Madhyam adhikari cannot at any time perceive the presence of the Supreme Lord within all living beings, whereas an Uttama adhikari, however he acts on the second-class platform to carry out the Lord's mission, is aware that every living entity is ultimately a forgetful, Krishna-conscious living entity. Therefore, although a devotee may externally engage 4 different types of behavior, as mentioned in this verse, namely worship of the Lord, friendship with the devotees, preaching to the innocent, and rejection of the demons, he is not necessarily on the second-class platform, since an Uttama adhikari also may exhibit these symptoms to carry out the Lord's mission. In this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentions that it is the duty of the madhyama adhikari to extend himself as the right hand of the Uttama adhikari, vowing to work for the benefit of others and offering to help to distribute love of Krishna. Finally, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has given a nice example of the difference between archana and bhajana. Archana refers to the platform of sadhana bhakti, in which one serves the Lord to carry out the rules and regulations of the process. One who has achieved the shelter of the Lord's holy name and is totally engaged in the attempt to serve the Lord should be considered to be on the platform of bhajana, even though his external activities may sometimes be less strict than those of the neophyte engaged in archana. This apparent lack of strictness, however, refers to laxity, not in the basic principles of sane behavior and renunciation of sense gratification, but rather to the details of Vaishnava ceremonies. So here we have further explanation of this verse about how the madhyama adhikari acts. He acts in 4 ways. Of course, he worships the Lord, he is friendly to the devotees, he is merciful to the innocent, and he avoids those who are enemies, or they act as an enemy of the devotees and the Supreme Lord. So that is the general conduct of the madhyama adhikari. And as explained in the purport, the Uttama adhikari also may act in the same way for certain purposes. But we should never think that he is therefore of a lesser category because he's acting as a madhyama adhikari. He still has his status of Uttama. So what is the difference? The difference is the vision. So the madhyama adhikari has not advanced to the stage where he sees everything in the Lord and the Lord in everything. Theoretically, of course, we can accept it, but he doesn't have that same vision, or the Uttama adhikari has this vision and the madhyama adhikari doesn't. So if the Uttama adhikari comes down and acts in relation to different types of persons, like the madhyama adhikari, he doesn't lose his vision of seeing everything in the Lord and the Lord in everything. But for certain purposes, he may act like this. Just as Supreme Lord is always Supreme Lord, he's never affected by the gunas, he's never affected by karma, etc. But sometimes the Lord acts according to Varnashram system, which is in the gunas. So he'll act as a kshatriya. And we see that so often in the Bhagavad Gita also, or in Mahabharata or whatever. And we see other great devotees also will act in a similar way, even though they're not in the gunas. So definitely Yudhisthira is not in Rajagun, but he'll act like a kshatriya. So that's 3 modes of material nature, so to speak. But what's the difference? He is dedicated 100% to Krishna. So though it looks like he's acting according to Varnashram system, actually he's got a different view of the whole world. Everything is related to Krishna. Another person who is not on that stage will act according to the rules of a kshatriya, and he'll be influenced by Rajagun, etc. So the consciousness of the person is different. So similarly, The Uttamadhikari is on one level, and even if he acts on a lower level, his vision never changes. We know that if a person attains prema, he does not lose that prema in any circumstance. We see that the eternal devotees of the Lord, they sometimes come to the material world with the Lord, but they never become affected by Maya like other jivas in this world. They maintain their status in prema all the time. They're never affected. Therefore, the person who is fixed in prema, then he can never lose his vision of the Supreme Lord and his emotional attachment to the Lord, in spite of the fact that he may act as if he's a person of this material world. So when we say that the Uttamadhikari comes down to the level of a madhyamadhikari, it doesn't mean he loses his qualification. It merely means that he's acting like a madhyamadhikari for certain purposes, but his vision is always that of prema and seeing the Lord everywhere and everything in the Lord. Whereas the madhyamadhikari is not fixed in prema. He still has some impurities in his heart. He has not 100% attachment to the Lord yet. So he is acting according to these four principles for his own benefit, so he can advance further. The person in prema doesn't have to act at all in this way because he's got the goal. He's got prema already. He doesn't have to advance at all. So, therefore, the madhyamadhikari is acting in this way so that he can advance in devotional service. So, though the verse here mentions about prema, it's not actually prema in relation to the Lord, but that's his goal. On the other hand, the Uttamadhikari, when he has prema for the Lord, that's actual prema in relation to the Lord. In either case, whether it is the person in the Uttamadhikari or the madhyamadhikari, they may ignore the demons and those that hate the Lord, but they do not hate anyone. The upeksha simply means they're indifferent. Now, of course, the indifference of the madhyamadhikari is for his own benefit, because if he preaches to them, then he commits offense. If he commits offense, then he degrades his devotional service. So, for his own benefit, the madhyamadhikari ignores the demons or whatever like that. But he doesn't show any hatred towards them. Of course, it's not perfect. His stage isn't perfect, so we can't say he's perfectly without any trace of material envy or anger or whatever like that. But his attempt is there to not act with hatred towards anybody in this material world, including the demons. So that's an ideal position. The Uttamadhikari, of course, is in prema, so he has no trace of anger, hatred, any negative quality or anartha towards anybody in the material world, including the demons. So he's like Krishna. Krishna also has no hatred towards anyone. So it is natural for the person on prema to have this type of attitude. And of course, the Supreme Lord and the devotee in prema, they're very merciful to the ignorant people. And this is one feature of the madhyamadhikari as well. He also shows mercy to the innocent. So, common quality. And we never see that the exalted devotees are without mercy. However, if they're fixed in prema and they're not coming down to this other level to act for certain purposes, then it may not be apparent that they're merciful, because they're not preaching, they're not going out distributing books, they're not doing kirtan in the public, they may be sitting in some forest somewhere and chanting or whatever like that. So it may not be apparent that they're merciful or whatever. We can never understand the character of one who is in prema. Very, very difficult to know his reasons for doing anything. But we can never accuse him of not being compassionate to all living entities. We could criticize Sukadev and say, well, why was he just 16 years? He didn't talk to and didn't associate with anybody. But he was very merciful, and ultimately he was merciful to Parikshit, and he spoke to him when the time was proper. Then he showed his mercy. So even those that who are on the Uttama level, they may not look like they're showing mercy, but if there is an opportunity that is suitable for them, they'll show mercy at that time. Of course, if they come down to this madhyama type level, like Narada Muni, then they preach, then they're showing mercy directly also. In any case, they're never without mercy, but it may not show externally in the case of some of the prime bhaktas. The madhyama adhikari, of course, also shows mercy. His mercy, of course, because he's not on the highest level, is not on the same level as Narada Muni's mercy. Definitely not. It's not of the same power and the same strength. But to the degree that the madhyama adhikari has devotion, to that degree he also shows mercy. And so mercy is actually inherent within bhakti itself. Bhakti Shakti is one of the energies of the Lord, composed of Hladini and Samvit Shaktis. And part of that is mercy. That's also in there. It's inherent in the process of bhakti itself, and in the bhava of bhakti. Mercy is necessarily there. If it's not there, we cannot really have bhakti. So any devotee, therefore, shows some sort of mercy, though it may not be apparent, as in the case of some prem bhaktas who are just somewhere in the forest. So the madhyama, of course, shows this quite often, more explicitly. Sometimes they don't also. So we have Babajis who don't look like they're showing mercy. They're often Radhakun, chanting their rounds or whatever, doing japa or whatever as well. They're not on the highest level, but they're only madhyamas, and they're doing their sadhana. But they may not show external mercy in the same way. That's the position of the bhajananandis. So they don't look like they're giving out mercy. It doesn't mean they're not merciful, but their conduct is a little different, that's all. So the others, who are called the Gosthyanandis, those are the ones who externally show a lot of mercy to other living entities, to the innocent people. And it's not the highest level, as I said, because the Uttama is much higher and purer in his mercy. But nevertheless, to the extent that they are practicing bhakti, they also show mercy. And this is, we could say, the will of the Supreme Lord. They are the madhyama adhikaris. Showing mercy is the main vehicle for the Lord to help the people in the material world. He's acting through mainly the madhyama adhikaris. So they play a very, very important role in giving out the Lord's message and showing mercy, in spite of the fact they're not on the highest level. Still, they're one of the main instruments of the Lord in spreading bhakti in this world. So very, very important. And of course, the Uttamadhikari and the Madhyamadhikari both show friendliness towards devotees, in spite of the fact that the Uttama sees everything as one, as explained in the purport here. He actually appreciates the devotees, just as Krishna is sama, but he also is more attracted to the devotees. So the devotees are also like that. The Uttamas are like that, and the Madhyamas also. Necessarily for their own advancement, they associate with devotees. So the maitri, or the friendliness with devotees, is there in both cases. And of course that is shown by hearing the glories of the Lord from other devotees. Friendship ultimately means sharing. So what do? They share topics of the Supreme Lord, Krishna Katha. So that is common with the in the Uttama adhikari and in the madhyam level. And of course, all of these three are, we say, absent in the kanishta. He's not friendly with the devotees and having topics of the devotees. He's not showing mercy to other living entities, and he's not distinguishing the non-devotee and the materialist and like that. He mixes with everybody, and he doesn't show any special preference for devotees. So he's quite different from the madhyama. Madhyama, we can say, is quite like the Uttama in many ways. And they all show even the favorable attitude towards the Lord. The Uttama has realized prema. The madhyama adhikari, his goal is prema. The kanishta, his goal is maybe a little vague. He's worshiping the Lord. Okay, he's doing it, but actual goal is a little unclear. But nevertheless, he's favorable to the Lord. So that's his favorable element, the kanishta. And the other three things are, we can say, absent. So he has to develop to that level by association with madhyama devotees. So this madhyama stage is a very important stage. This is actually the stage of pure bhakti in sadhana. And it is only, in most cases, it is through this stage that one will advance to the Uttama stage. The rare case is kripa. By mercy, you can just advance without going through all of this. They end up with bhava or prema very quickly by the mercy of a great devotee. But that is rare. So in most cases, people have to follow these principles, 4 principles as outlined here. And this way, they get to the highest level. So this is a very, very important instruction because it deals with, we can say it's a principle in how we deal with different people, with devotees, non-devotees, and demons. And we have 3 different principles, and of course with the Lord, of course we worship Him. So this is the guideline for how we perform our devotional service in sadhana bhakti.
Maharaj, we hear Bhaktivinoda Thakur say that we judge, we know that a person is Vaishnava by the number of Vaishnavas he makes or he inspires. And also today you mentioned that there are both Bhajananandis and Goshyanandis, and usually all of us, Madhyama adhikaris, they will fall somewhere in between. Some will go to more into preaching and some more into bhajan. So, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur's statement seems to state that a Madhyama adhikari will naturally tend to preach and not so much focus on his bhajan. So, how do we understand this? So that, if someone is genuinely a Madhyama adhikari and he's more interested in his bhajan, we may disrespect him saying that, oh, he's kanishta, he's not preaching.
Well, it's a matter of degrees. Now, the Madhyama adhikari will have these 4 aspects, but some devotees may emphasize one of the factors more. Now, when I would say the principal thing is they actually have to have devotee association and get knowledge, which distinguishes from the kanishta. As far as showing mercy, that is maybe different levels. Some people are showing the mercy more, some are showing it less, or as I said, some may not apparently be showing it at all. It doesn't mean they're not merciful, but they're just, they've chosen a different path. So they're the Bhajananandis or whatever. And then we have the Goshyanandis who are more inclined to preaching. So this, we can say, is the tendency of the living entity, maybe one of his tendencies. So we cannot criticize Sukadeva for not preaching to everybody. He only spoke to Parikshit, whatever like that. So individuals may have certain reasons why they act in certain ways. Again, we'll find Jat Bharat. He didn't preach to anybody either until he came to Rahugana. Then suddenly he said so much to King Rahugana. So, but he spoke at one time, but we can say, why isn't he preaching all the time? This individual preference or whatever like that. Of course, we can also argue he was on prema level, so then he had the right to do that also. But anyway, even below that level, they may have different ways in which they show the mercy also, and even in the madhyama level.
Maharaj, the devotee practicing bhakti on the aim of attaining spiritual world, it is mixed bhakti?
Well, yeah, that's called salokya. If we simply want to practice bhakti to get to the spiritual world without service, that's just salokya. It's a type of liberation or mukti. If we want to go there to get a spiritual body, again, that is, it's not the purest. So, the devotee, therefore, strives mainly for service to the Lord and to please the Lord. If he gets to the spiritual world, he gets a spiritual body, fine. It's suitable for his service, he'll accept it. If it's not suitable for his service, he won't accept it. So, for instance, Gopakumar went to Vaikuntha, and they said, you have to take a nice spiritual body with 4 arms, and he didn't want that. It wasn't favorable for his service. So I said, no, I don't want that type of body. When he was went to Goloka, then his cowherd boy form, very good, so he accepted that form and did his service in that form.
I've heard this that devotees speak that Srila Prabhupada is Uttama adhikari, but he has come down to the platform of madhyama, and he is so by today's explanation is clear, but then also we understand that one can become Uttama only by following the process or the path of madhyama.
Yeah, in general, except for Kripa. Yeah.
So usually when we see an Uttama, we would also have his history as madhyama.
Well, maybe previous lifetime, we don't know. As in the case of Bharat. He started out as a king, then he got to Bhava stage when he was in the as a Vanaprastha. Then after he was a deer, then he became Jad Bharat, then he got prema. So it took many lifetimes to get to that higher Uttama level.
So Maharaj, in case of Prabhupada, we see that Prabhupada writes that his father was a pure devotee. So how do we understand Srila Prabhupada was a pure devotee from the beginning, or?
Well, of course, pure devotee again is a rather ambiguous term. Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean prem bhakta, because anyone practicing Uttama bhakti is called a pure devotee. So then in that sense, Prabhupada said, okay, everyone chanting Hare Krishna, chanting 16 rounds and following regulated principles is a pure devotee also. So it's a little vague term, But that distinguishes from the Kanishta, or the other people who look like they're devotees, but actually they're got all sorts of, merging ideas or other contaminated ideas, even if they claim they're Vaishnavas.
Why I'm asking this question, Maharaj, because there are predictions which are in scriptures which point towards the Senapati Bhakta going to Western countries and delivering them. So we have an indication, we say that is Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Maharaj, we see right in the beginning of Prabhupada's life, there was a time when Prabhupada said, I did not believe in sadhus, I was not so much inclined towards bhakti and towards nationalist movement. So we see that small part. So,
well, we can also see even like in the case of Narada Muni, he started out as the son of a maidservant, then he got prema, whatever like that. But then that was part of the leela of his leela, because it's actually a Shaktivash avatar and he has a spiritual body to begin with. Or we take Prahlad or whatever like that. They all have histories or whatever that start out in one, but we cannot always tell by that that's their, they were materialistic, and we can't really say.
And Maharaj, last question. Usually the Kanishtas are considered to have a traditional faith because they have just faith in the deities. But we see in the Western countries when Srila Prabhupada started preaching, they did not have so-called faith in the deities. And in a very short span, they manifested most of the qualities of madhyama. So, so is it that in ISKCON there is not much of Kanishta level? Most of it begins from the early madhyama stage.
Yeah, well, they may not have. You don't have to go from the Kanishta to the madhyama level. You may, but you may not. Also, you could be Kanishta forever and not get to the madhyama level, or you may not be worshiping the deity at all, and by mercy of devotees, you can come to the madhyama level also without having worshipped the Lord and seen the Lord in the temple at all. That's, of course, in India it's possible, but other countries not even possible because they don't have deities. So you could just come to the madhyama level without any being a kanishta at all. But probably in previous lifetime, you did have some association with devotion somewhere and somehow, in order to develop the faith to become a madhyama.
Okay, Maharaj. But Prabhupada has also said, when devotees asked him that we did something nice in the past, Prabhupada said, no, I've created that good fortune for you.
Well, that's also there. They could do it in this lifetime or previous. Usually, it's previous lifetime also. In this life also, mercy of devotees they can advance, like Mrgari the hunter or whatever it is. It didn't seem to have any previous good karmas at all, actually.
Thank you.